to Dirty Change.
Whoa.
With comedian Rosie Tran and Tommy Pistol. Tommy, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm really excited. We're like a sex education podcast, kind of, right?
Yeah, without the training. Kind of like my career. Like, don't learn from me.
Well, I think everyone has life training, but I think it's really important to talk about sex because that's something I definitely grew up in a very repressed environment. I came from a family of Vietnamese immigrants, and definitely we did not talk about that at all. And so I kind of played this game of figuring stuff out on my own. We had Loveline. I mean, you're a little bit older than me, so I'm not sure what you're just a little.
I remember Loveline. I never really listened to it because it was also on a HBO, or was it, you could also watch it and listen to it? Or was it only on the radio? I can't remember.
I don't know. I just listened to it. It was on our type of like K-rock, alternative rock station after 10.
Yeah. And
what I really liked about it was that, so they had Adam Carolla, who was like the goofy comedian, and then like they had this sexpert, Dr. Drew, the expert or whatever. But I just liked it because there was nobody I know talking about sex. And of course, all my friends were completely clueless.
Yeah.
And as a woman, it was like taboo.
How people still are, unfortunately, clueless.
Well, I think it's better with the internet now because, like websites like Quora and like even Wikipedia and Google, you can at least Google like how to have anal or how to and there's some information, and there's even books like who is the famous blonde vivid lady that how to have sex like a porn star? I'm blanking.
She wrote a book?
Yes.
Or
it's vivid, contract star, blonde, stereotypical stereotype of a porn star.
That's a little. I'm kind of brain farting right now. only because Vivid hasn't been in the spotlight for a while.
Yeah, but it's like the heyday blonde. Why am I blanking?
I don't know. There's so many blondes. Honestly, even on set when they're like, "Oh, I'm working with this blonde," they're like, "Okay." There's so much information out there about sex, and even you could read all the books in the world and like anything like raising a child and stuff. Because I know when I had my first child, my wife at the time was like,
reading books about kids.
You have to read these books, and I was like, okay, let's read the books. And I didn't read them. I did skim through them, but no matter what, and every parent that I became friends with, like, we all read the books, we all did something, but nothing went as planned. Everything changed. And a lot of times I find out like the people who wrote the books, they're writing it off like what they were taught and their degrees and they got. And some of those people don't even have kids. And it's kind of like you don't get to write a book if you don't have a child about raising kids. I'm sorry. I think that should be a rule.
Someone could say that about us. Like, you guys don't get to talk about... That's not fair, though, because someone can say you guys are not allowed to talk about sex because you guys don't have, like, a sex degree or, like, a psychology degree in sex. So I don't know if I am... Okay, so I'm going to challenge you. I'm not going against you. I'm just going to challenge your thinking because sometimes you can see something about a situation even if you're not part of it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So maybe you don't have kids, but you can see something that someone's doing. Now, I'm not saying everyone's unsolicited advice is correct. I get unsolicited advice all the time, and it's really bad. But I'm saying sometimes some people can see things that you can't. That's all I'm saying.
No, very true. Very true. Obviously, I think experience, like 10,000 hours makes you like kind of a professional. And I am only assuming because of the years that I've been in the industry, and I will get messages from like married couples or girlfriends or boyfriends saying, "How do I do this? I want
Tommy, help."
Yeah, I'm like, I could give you my advice, but it comes that usually I try to obviously not pick sides and be like, "What a dick! You should leave him." It's like you can't.
How many broken marriages has Tommy Pistol created?
I just stuck it in his ass, and now he's leaving. And I was like, "Did I
listened to your DM?"
Yeah, everything's different in everyone, and definitely in Sex, like,
but also advice isn't universal.
Yeah.
So like I could give you advice or you could give me advice based on your experience. And then maybe I have a completely different experience as a woman or a woman of color or like whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So like maybe you're like, you should just do this in the bedroom. And then I try it and I'm like, oh, that didn't work.
Why'd you say that? You're horrible.
So I think it's experience plus personal beingness, whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's interesting. And even at this point, like, people are still experimenting and trying to find out. And I think it is obviously becoming more open for people to kind of be like, hey, I really like doing that, and or whatever it is sexually and stuff. And I think that's important that people are, from what I see, are becoming more brave and not so in the closet of like
their fetishes and their
yeah. And I mean, definitely in the past couple of years, definitely within the past 5 years, like fetishes within the industry has become important, like and
as a niche, right?
Yeah, and with like clips for sale and OnlyFans, ManyVids, those are sites where normal people can actually
normies
normal people, they can actually like branch out and see things that they wouldn't do. But also those sites give people, they could do stuff themselves and put it online and actually make an income, which a couple years ago, like, that wasn't possible.
And there's so much crazy fun stuff out there. Like there's
anything.
There's like furry porn.
Which is insane.
There's furry porn, which I think is hilarious, but also cool. I'm not judging. And also there's like crazy like cosplay stuff. There's like so much like creativity, right?
Yeah.
It's like a way to express yourself.
And and what's so awesome about seeing like specifically those cosplay and stuff, like those people go hardcore into like
that world, right?
Yeah,
you're like
and
into it.
building their own costumes, and like it's not just a
it's
Comic-Con
like
thing. Yeah, and
there's romantic like spin-offs. So like if you're into like Vampire Diaries or something, I don't know, you can write erotic Vampire Diaries like erotica and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's become, I think, definitely, again, like within the last couple of years, like the gates have been open of like
the floodgates.
Yeah, like all the like the weirdos behind the gate that would like let us in. The doors are open. It's now everything is coming out of what people like to do, and it's literally anything from like brushing your teeth to like clipping your toenails. Like girls are making money off of any.
There's those YouTube videos where people are just talking,
yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Where they're just like repeating a word, like donuts. Do you know what I'm talking about?
And they will make money off it. I know a girl, Elanova, who is an adult performer. She's like, I make clips for a guy, just me eating cereal and reading.
Can I get paid to do, who?
Anyone can get paid.
Can I get paid to do? Who has a cereal fetish? Please call me ASAP. I will eat so much cereal.
Whatever you want.
Whatever you. Lucky Charms. What do you want? Cocoa Puffs.
Except they're like, I want to see you eat bran muffins. You're like, all right, calm down. It's like, you disgusting pig.
Okay, so we're going off on a tangent.
Sorry.
My point was actually that this is kind of a sex education podcast because I want to talk about it. And you are an expert and we're buddies and we're talking. Because growing up, it was like radio silence for me. I mean, I don't know how it was for you.
I think it was, I mean, obviously.
You're a guy, so I don't know if it's like a totally different experience.
Well, I mean, for fetishes was kind of like, when I heard fetishes growing up, like, instantly would be like,
Tommy,
like,
you're a pervert.
yeah.
You're sick.
But it would be like leather daddies. Like when I hear BDSM growing up, it was like bears and like guys. And I was like, that's fucking terrifying. But as I got older and then even before I got into the industry, like I started seeing like there's a whole world of it and it wasn't. And a lot of people assume like BDSM is all just like pain, but the years that I've been like domming for specifically for kink.com, I always had the idea like it's the dom who's in control and blah, blah, blah. No, but it's like the sub. It's the person receiving the hits and everything that actually controls the whole thing. Like anybody could lay a heavy hand and be like, look at me, I'm a dom. Like, oh, and I killed her, you know? But that's not how it is. And I think what's exciting when I get to talk about that on like Twitter and when people interview me and stuff, like I get to relay that, you know, how it is. And it's not the assumption that like anybody could hit hard and call themselves a don, or like, look, I bruised her. And it's like, that's not BDSM. Like that's not the way you do it. And the more BDSM is like becoming natural in like movies and mainstream and books, and I don't want to say 50 Shades of Grey because everyone in the BDSM world was like, that is complete garbage. Like, and it was kind of one-sided, and it really gave people the wrong idea of what that world is.
So can I tell you about my adventures in BDSM? So can I tell you a story?
I want to hear your story.
Okay,
Yes.
so when I was 18, my love of my life, a high school sweetheart that I thought I was going to marry and I had lost my virginity to and I had never had sex with anyone else, cheated on me with a professional dominatrix. So I was heartbroken. We broke up and I was like, I want to see what this is all about. Okay. I don't think that's why he cheated on me, but so I had a little 6-month adventure in the
I'm going to get him back.
in the BDSM world as a dominatrix. And
You did?
I did.
What?
Yeah. It was very interesting and I'm sure very dangerous. I'm lucky I'm not in like a body bag in someone's trunk. I literally posted an ad on Craigslist and was like, I'm a dom. Like, and I had no idea what I was doing. I went to the Pleasure Chest in West Hollywood, bought a whip and a sexy outfit. And
was it a suede whip, a leather whip? Was it like the bicycle flares at the end? Because those really hurt.
It had suede leather straps.
Okay.
It did hurt because it leaves mark. I never got whipped. Anyway. So I put out an ad and I got several clients and I didn't tell them that I had no idea what I was doing. One of the guys told me I was the best dom he's ever hired.
That's amazing.
And I had no idea what I was. You know what it was? And it's so funny that you said actually the sub has all the power because it was all about listening. I literally just did exactly what they wanted.
And that's pretty much what it is. Like when you're a professional dom, like, you know,
I had no idea what I was doing.
when they get there, it's pretty much.
It was so easy. They told me everything.
Yeah. And you're
like, do this, do this, do this. I'm like, okay.
What a great job.
But it was so like you said, people think it's all about being dominant, but I was actually very submissive. They were in control because I did everything that they, not everything. I didn't do any sex stuff, but I'm a good girl. But I did. One guy, he literally just told me, he said, just beat me until I say stop. He didn't have a safe word. He just like, until I say stop. I'm like, okay.
Awesome.
And because I had just been cheated on, I had so much anger and rage inside me. I just pretended it was my ex, and it was so easy.
Can you put this mask on?
Can you put this picture of his face on your face?
Wow. So how? I'm curious. Like that's something you never did,
when I tell you I was such a goody two shoes, I thought I was going to marry this guy. I had saved myself for marriage. I was a very good girl. I came from a very strict household, straight A student. This was something that was completely outside of my norm. Although I had moved to LA for acting though, so I took it as an acting gig. I was like, this is a role that I'm playing. And like I said, like you said with the subs, it was so easy because they were really in control. They said, do this, do this, do that. And I just did what they asked, unless it was something that I wasn't comfortable with. Like, one of my clients did want to take it to a sexual level. And I said, sorry, I just do,
And he said, okay.
He was okay with it. And then we did have a session where he had sex with someone in front of me, and then I like made fun of him or something. I don't remember.
So while he was having sex, it was like, you're pathetic. You don't know what you're doing.
Is that cucking? Or is cucking?
Well, cucking.
That's like it's like reverse cucking.
You reverse cucked me. It's like Jackass, just crashing a room like, you've been reverse cucked. Oh. Like cucking is like a humiliating thing, and it's like I shoot those videos, but they're usually like, I'm the guy who's going to repair the floor, and the husband's been a jerk, and the wife is like, I'm going to get back at him and fuck the tile guy, and then he's
I like the wife's voice.
Yeah, and then he comes home. I just did one recently, and the husband comes back and he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, whoa, you're no good, and I'm going to fuck him. And because I always like to throw humor in my scenes while I'm banging.
Were you the tile guy or the hubby?
I was the tile guy.
You're like, come on.
Yeah.
Rosie, look at me. I'm the tile guy, okay?
I've done both, but this specifically one. So while I'm having sex with her, and he's like, "This is horrible." But I was like, "You know what's gonna make you feel better?" As I'm banging his wife, the sale you're gonna get on all these tiles.
Oh my god, that is so. Are you a Jew? I'm sorry. Oops. All right, our podcast has been banned.
I get mistaken to be Jewish, and I don't know how if they see the videos.
You're schlepping a deal.
Yeah. I was trying to keep him involved and just be like,
you're schlepping a good deal in the middle of the.
I'm saving your marriage and
I'm saving your marriage and money.
And 10%.
I'm sorry to my Jewish friends. We're just kidding. Hashtag just kidding.
I don't know. There's different forms of cucking, as far as I know.
So I wasn't doing cucking.
If you were,
I was humiliating him.
Yeah, no. So you kind of were. Yeah, you were. You were, and you didn't even know.
I didn't even know.
Years later,
yeah.
Like,
so
I cucked him.
I had a bunch of clients, and then I just stopped because I personally wasn't getting anything from it. Was just, for me, it was an exploratory period. I was trying to understand what happened. You know, I thought I was going to marry this guy. It was more of me trying to understand what had happened. And I don't think actually that he had any type of fetish. I think it was just a coincidence.
So he just happened to.
I mean, he did have mommy issues. His mom had passed away when he was really young, so he did have mommy issues.
Okay.
So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but it was a 6-month experiment. I learned a lot about myself, and
Did you make money?
I did. I made a lot of money. I made a lot of money. I was a young, really hot 18-year-old Asian chick with a whip. Come on.
That's amazing. It would also be funny if you were like, you could have got paid.
Oh, no. I was like, I'm going to make money doing this. And it was so crazy because what I found, at least my clients, were the kind of stereotypical. So the stereotype I've understood about S&M, which may not be true, but the stereotype is very powerful men that like to be dominated.
Yes.
And so most of the men, the clients that I did have were mostly executives, very wealthy, very dominant in their normal life.
They're so used to giving orders and telling people what to do, and everybody like kind of being like, yes, sir, all yes people around them.
Yeah.
But deep down inside, they're like, I want to be treated like shit.
Correct, but it's weird what you said because they were still giving orders.
It was like...
It's like fake.
It is like trippy because it's
a
like...
control thing.
Yeah, the subs do say, I'm okay with this. Like, you could do this, this, and this, or this is what I want. And you can't just go on a tantrum and like, oh, I'm going to hit you with a chair. You know, and it's like, wait, but I don't want that. After I pee on you.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why that made me laugh so much. I have this image of like a circus, like lion, like yeah.
It is a dominant trade factor, like a give and take and stuff. Like I know two performers that are doms, and somebody paid them I think it was $50,000.
Okay, I didn't make that much. If I did, I'd still be doing it.
They made a video They got sent the money. They made a video.
What was the 50,000 for? Tell me every detail.
I don't even know what was in the video, but the man who ordered it and paid never even took it.
Really?
And they were thinking, because it was like, this doesn't make sense. But then...
Just take the money.
But it's also like he might hate himself, but like it, the fact that he gave all this money away.
It was just really,
it's so weird.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. It was really bizarre how powerful and well put together and the men. I mean, I had an executive of a very large company that stupidly emailed me from his work email. And so at Giant Corporation. I was like, okay.
Jeff Bezos?
at Rosie at Craigslist. It's like, dude, use a personal email. But I mean, this guy went all out. But when I was done with him, he had moved on to another more intense dom, and he actually had emailed me and was like, oh, you would be so proud of me, come look at me. And he was like living in a dog crate in Santa Monica. So this guy was like very serious about it. I mean, he literally was living in a dog crate. I don't want to make fun of the guy. It was like his passion.
Isn't that amazing? Like, it still boggles my mind because I'm all about how much money can I make and everything. It's like, save every penny. Jesus Christ, life is so hard. And then it's just like, here's 20 grand and put me in a dog crate. And it's like, exactly. What do I got to do to get 20 grand? Show me the fucking dog crate and I will sit in it for you. Like, I hear these stories. Like, there's this one guy who reaches out to a lot of like male performers and he's like, send me a clip and, I'll send you like these really expensive cowboy boots. And as far as I know, everybody else got the fucking boots.
Except for you?
Yeah. And I'm like, where are my boots? I'm like kind of insulted. And I was like, what do I got to do to get a nice pair of boots? I will love it.
You're boot cucked.
I guess I'm boot cucked.
Where are my high quality cowboy boots? Or you get like Walmart cowboy boots. You're like, what is this?
It's like, these aren't Uggs. They're like Nugs. It's like, what the fuck?
That is hilarious.
In the BDSM world, like as long as I've been doing this, I'm still like kind of in my own little bubble. And usually what I go do is like for a company. So I've actually never ventured out outside
I think you could
of a work
make money
thing.
as an independent contractor. I mean,
I've tried. I put out feelers and, a guy was like, hey, I'll pay you money if you like spit on me and humiliate me. And I was like, well, I want this amount of money. He's like, yeah. And then he never got back to me. And I'm like, hey, man, remember that little thing we talked about? I got a lot of spit for it. I've been drinking milk and chewing gum. But he never got back to me. And I was like, all right, well, I don't know. But like those situations are, they could be scary. So anybody doing that, like you were saying,
I was very blessed that nothing happened to me. Honestly, I was so naive. I was just on like this exploratory mission and I didn't think, oh, I should probably meet the people in a public place, or I was very trusting, and thank God, the clients that I met with were just creepy perverts who wanted me to step on their face and not to murder me.
with heels?
No, barefoot.
Okay.
Barefoot, face. So I did face stepping. I did whipping. The most sexual thing I did was I did shove a dildo up a guy's butt. And I was really scared doing it because I really thought I was going to hurt him. And
were you kind of like looking away? And
I'm such not a dom in my personal life. And I was just doing it to explore something that I felt like I needed to explore. And I was so scared I was hurting him. And I think I did, but he loved it. It was really huge. It was a huge floppy dildo, and I was just shoving it. It wasn't going in, Tommy, and I just kept shoving and shoving.
How do I make this work?
And he loved it. He was like, that was so intense. And I mean, he really, I had a couple clients that said I was the best dom they've ever had in their entire lives, and I literally had no clue what I was doing.
Talk about winging it. Kick me in the balls. Oh, okay.
I couldn't have And when I say I couldn't have been further from that, I mean, literally, I was a straight A student, good girl, had never, it was just, I was like, why did this guy dump me for dominatrix? I want to find out what's going on. And I just went into this world. I did it about 6 months. I did have many clients and a couple regular clients, but it just, to me, like, it's exactly what you said. They're in control. The sub is in control. And I just really was delivering a service and just doing what they wanted and taking out some of my aggressions.
I think from what I know, a lot of the female doms.
So sorry, professional doms, if I'm not saying your job is hard, it's easy, but I did wing it a little bit.
Fake it till you make it. But,
I definitely was faking it.
But a lot of women that I know that dom, like, they do find it exhilarating because, their whole life, if they had like an abusive boyfriend or something like that, a lot of them do kind of end up doing that. And it feels good to have power because, let's admit, like, outside men kind of suck. Like, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, women are only, only 50, 75 years women could vote? Or
yeah,
it's kind of recent. So a lot of them really enjoy it, and they have boyfriends or husbands, and it's a lifestyle. It's a huge lifestyle.
I thought about going back to it because I think there's a place in the Valley that one of my friends, who's a comedian, doms another comedian part-time as an extra stream of income. But I don't know. I thought about it like for a second. I was like, oh, maybe I should now that I know more and I'm mature and I'm like, not like a 19-year-old girl that's ridiculous. But I decided against it. But I did have a lot of fun. I got to ride a guy like a pony. And use his belt as what is it, like a girdle or whatever it's called.
Oh my God, like a bit in the mouth and everything.
Yeah, I'm surprised how open I was, like just being so clueless as I was. Just whatever they said, I was like, all right, I'll try that. I was just in such a, like, let's see what this is about. I was very open-minded. So that's something I got to give myself credit for.
What's kind of interesting about that stuff too, when I hear these stories, is that a majority of those guys were probably married or had girlfriends, and that's an interesting thing. And I think that's also a problem with a lot of relationships, is that people have these fetishes or
they're scared,
they want to experiment,
right? Yeah.
And they're like, how do I tell my partner to do that? Or they've hinted at it, and she's like, "What are you, fucking crazy? I'll kick you out."
Are
and
you
like,
a creep?
I'm never telling you that again. But then that's when they lead off, and then they're trying to, and then that's when they're like, "Oh, she's asleep. I'll look at porn," or like, "I'll get off at this exit," because I know that's over there, and it kind of stinks that a lot of people aren't as open or have that courage.
We're getting there, but I think also
it takes work.
Yes, and I think there's a lot of societal control. Like, I was reading this amazing article about this woman who was talking about she had saved herself for marriage. She was in the church, and then she got married, and she's like, "This is what I was saving myself for." And so, no offense to her hubby.
Fuck?
So what I think is that the idea that women are virginal and women need to be clean and but guys can do whatever, I think that's ridiculous. I personally think if I were to go back in time, I'm happily married now, but that I would encourage younger women to have as much sex with as many people as they can before they get married, so that you can find out what you like.
Yeah, I agree. That has been like...
What if you marry someone who's into S&M and you're not, or someone who's into whatever and you're not? That sex... If you're married for life, the sex is a big part of marriage.
Right? It kind of makes or breaks the whole deal with everything. If people are not seeing eye to eye, and I mean,
but that goes with what you're saying. You're saying, well, it's a shame that guys can't talk about this. Well, women are being conditioned too to like be scared or to think that that's wrong. Yeah. And so what I'm saying, it's a societal thing.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing, like, guys could fuck as many people as possible, and it's like, what a stud. And then girls are like, what a whore, And it's like, well, that's not cool. Like, this whole fuck. And there's still, it's it's changing, and it depends on the group of people you surround yourself with. But I think that stigma, as long as those dinosaurs and that way of thinking is around, like it's always going to be that like, oh, she's fucked like 200 guys. And it's like,
yes,
how gross. And it's like, really? Or come on, like enough with this garbage.
So I think that's what needs to change regarding women is just the idea that women need to be pure and clean. And if they're not, like in Africa, in certain countries in Africa, there's like rampant rape issues. And a lot of times when a girl is raped, the stigma is that she's damaged now. So even though it's not her fault and the family knows it's not her fault, well, who's going to want to marry her because somebody else, put his, jizz in her or whatever. And it's like, that is crazy. Like she was raped. It's not her fault. Like, why is she damaged goods now?
Yeah. It's, I get a lot of messages from guys in India. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I want to get in porn, but there's none here and I can't watch it. How do I do it? I was like, you need to leave where you live. Like, that's the first step. You have to get out of that country because I can't help you. Nor that I would, but that's your first step. But like, I've been getting a lot of, on Instagram, in fact, a lot of women have been like, can I send you pictures? Is that okay? Would you be offended? I was like, only if you want.
So what is the reasoning behind that? Do you think they just want to see if like a porn guy would be turned on by them? Or like, what's the MO? I'm just curious. I'm not judging them.
I can only assume, being that they see me in videos and I have sex with like beautiful women of all ages and sizes and everything.
Tommy, am I cute?
Yes.
Am I cute? That's what they want to know. They're like, am I cute?
Yeah. And getting that, like somebody who has sex for a living, like I'm
the
sure
validation.
that really feels nice to be, because if these people are like with their boyfriend, they're having sex at night, like with the light off, because it's like, I don't want them to see me naked.
Yeah.
But like somebody who has sex for a living, they could be like, what do you think of my body? Is like, am I gross? And it's like, no, you have amazing boobs. Like you have a big, beautiful ass. And like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like I'm so self-conscious and everything. And it's like, man.
That's another thing too. I think women are way too self-conscious, like just across the board. As a woman and as a woman who has sisters and as a woman who knows a lot of women, stop. Ladies, stop. You're beautiful.
Yeah.
Stop comparing yourself to Kim Kardashian.
Oh, that fake ass, fake skin, lips, everything like that. I'm really glad they're starting to advertise more like bigger women in like lingerie and like putting those ads up in like Target and anything.
But not just that, but the body shaming has to stop. It's like, as a male, I'm sure there's so many men who are not even close to 10s who will sleep with anything. And then there's a woman who's like a 10 and she's like, oh, I'm fat. And you're like, stop. Just stop, ladies. This is why we haven't taken over the world yet, ladies, because you're so worried about your extra, belly button lint or whatever that you're like, we're fighting amongst ourselves when we should be taking over the world.
I mean, like again, with the many vids and clips for sale, like, there's so many body types that are putting videos out there and like earning income and probably learning about themselves and building that confidence and be like, wait, I am pretty. Like I'm pretty because I have these clients or these people keep buying my videos and everything. And like, that's something new. That's something that wasn't popular then. Like a BBW movie was like, kind of like.
Is that Big Black Women?
Big beautiful women. Yeah, big. Okay. There's like BBC, Big Black Cock, Big Beautiful Women.
I like how you whispered cock. BBC.
Cock. BBC. So where that was more of a niche, like that has become more mainstream now, and that's great to see. And a lot of like women that probably normally wouldn't ever do that or feel like pretty enough, like they are, and they're empowering it and they're doing really well. And a lot of people are admitting it more and those sales are happening. And I think that's great to see. Like, say what you want about the sex industry, but it definitely...
It kind of doesn't discriminate, right? It's like so open.
It doesn't just... It's weird. It's weird.
You're like, we do what we don't.
We do? No, we don't. No, honestly, so I mean, that is like kind of a touchy subject in our industry. Like a lot of like black performers don't usually, they'll never get work unless they're like, you know, blacks on blondes, like doming a tiny white girl, or like black.com. It's just
so
like
it has to be a niche with that.
Yeah, but
so there is a little discrimination.
There definitely is. And a lot of performers lately have been like speaking up and being like, I don't work unless I'm specifically doing this. Like,
you're like, can I just be a normal guy and not like a black guy with a big dick? Come on.
Like, can I maybe be your neighbor? And
can I be the tile guy?
Yeah.
Can I be the tile guy?
Do I have to be the thug? So, but it sucks because a lot of like even the female performers, like they don't get too much work, and a lot of them, they don't like black on black scenes. They don't shoot as much. Mm-hmm. It usually has to be some kind of interracial thing. And I know people have been speaking up in the industry saying like, can we get rid of that word?
Is it
like,
because it doesn't sell, or is it because the powers that be, the producers, they want to see that content?
It's the sales. It's what sells. And a lot of people rather see a tiny white girl get, you know, drilled by a huge black guy instead of like a black guy with a black girl. Mm-hmm. And like, it's so stupid because you're like, I don't want to see that. Like, that's get out of here. But throw in the tiny, like, you know, farm girl, and it's like,
oh,
yes, like, she looks like my sister. It's so weird. And a lot of those sales, that's
no.
Exactly. That's like majority of those sales are like middle America, where also they're very racist. Mm-hmm. But they're buying those, which is, and
we're racist, but we want to see white girls getting rammed by black cops.
Yeah, it's like, don't you marry him.
But you can fuck him, and I jerk off to it.
As long as it's online. And that's crazy. That makes no sense. But all the fucking MILF porn, all the like stepfather, stepdaughter, like stepmother, those sales are because of like Pornhub. They put out these announcements of like what sold what and where in America, and usually like
it's like sales reports or whatever.
Yeah. Anal's up, fisting's down.
It's a business, right? You want to make more of what people are purchasing.
Yeah, but so we're looked at like, oh, you guys only shoot people like family people fucking, and it's like, if it didn't make money, we wouldn't shoot it.
So is that what's popular? A lot of incest?
Yes.
In middle America, incest and racism? Guys, what's happening in the Midwest?
Yeah, like get the fuck out of those, like get your head out the fucking cornfields. I don't know. Sorry. But no, but honestly, that's what's selling.
Scary.
It is. Like I did a scene today where I was the stepfather, and it was called, it was like, Daddy, fuck my ass. And so it was like my stepdaughter.
That's why I've never seen your work, Tommy. I'm not looking.
You're not searching for that.
I'm not looking up incest porn. Okay.
Incest porn sells amazingly. And
do you ever feel creeped out though? Like personally as an actor, are you like, okay, this is kind of creepy? Like
I've done some things where like at the end of the scene, I was like, everybody was kind of like, that was fucked up. Like when you have
You're like on your knees.
Yeah, like I'm apologizing. I was like, I'm really sorry I said those things. It's like, it's okay.
She's like crying in the corner.
Yeah. Like there was one scene where I had to like, the dad was pimping out his daughter. And
Tommy, how could you?
I was the big money client. I was like, I'll pay you extra, but you have to stay in the room and watch.
So is that cucking?
Yeah, like I wanted the
dad is being cucked
by the daughter, and I wanted to see that, and I was like what's the word?
Antagonizing.
Yeah. So like I would be like in onesie, like tell him he's a scumbag.
Did you do it with that voice?
And then I'll go behind the dad and be like, you're a filthy whore, and it's your mother left because of you. Tell her that. And I'll be like between them like, do you want more money? It was insane. And then at the end, it's just like, what are we doing? But
this is what sells in Indiana. Indiana, what's wrong with you?
What is going on? What is in your fucking water?
I'm teasing really hard because my husband's from Indiana.
Shut the fuck up. It's really interesting what sells because, like, I've.
What about in the overseas market, or what about in repressed markets? Like, in China, is porn even legal in China or India, where people are more culturally repressed? Is there more sexual violence? I know I was talking to Yoshi, who is no longer here, but he had mentioned that he was interviewing people abroad about different sex topics, and that in the Middle East, where sex is more repressed, that there's studies that there's more violence towards women. So actually sexual freedom is a sign of more freedom and equality.
Yeah. As far as like, it's weird.
Like, are they into more weird, crazy shit where it's more repressed, basically?
Yeah, like Japan, like there's a few companies out there. I would love to shoot hentai, like crazy tentacle stuff. Like I've been trying to make that fucking happen, and I haven't met the right company. But they like the stuff they do there, where like a girl has like stockings on and it's full of like eels running around, and I was like, can we do that? I don't think we can, but they go hard. But it's also like they have game shows where they're doing sexual things, and I was like, that's amazing, where porn stars there are kind of like
they're
praised.
Like celebs.
Yeah, like in Europe and everything, but here it's like, I really like you, but it's like, I don't want to tell anyone what I like. So it's interesting over there compared to here. And a lot of definitely Japan, a lot of like over there, their porn really goes crazy because they are so uptight.
As a culture.
Yeah. So like the whole like
more proper, polite
schoolgirl on the bus. And then all the businessmen just start bumping.
That's like a big fetish thing that I've noticed a lot. When I'm looking up my hentai stuff, sometimes they recommend other Japanese stuff. I'm into hentai. That they'll have, that's like a number one thing that I'll constantly see is like the schoolgirl with creepy guys on the bus. I'm like, why is this? I'm not into that. I'm like, why is this a thing? What's going on? Creepy guys are molesting her on the bus? I don't get it.
I heard they have like vending machines where you could buy like girl panties, like of different ages.
Oh, like dirty ones? How do they know?
I don't know.
How do they know whose
Sorry.
How do they know whose panties they are? It could just be some old lady's panties.
It could be a guy in the night behind the fucking thing, like just eating and farting, and be like, got another one.
Yeah, it could be a dude. Like, how do they know it's a little girl's panties?
A lot of times, like.
There's some, cut to some like middle-aged man who's like wearing little girls' panties, and like that's what he does. He's like, I soil little girls' panties and sell them.
I go for a jog, I clean the house, and then I put it in a package and I sell it. Some girls are like, oh, I want to buy your underwear and your shoes. She's like, well, I really like my shoes, so I'm going to go to the Salvation Army, find my size, and then put them in a bag and send them to you. And he's like, these are the best. They're so worn and they're smelly. And she's like, yeah, I really wore the shit out of those, didn't I? It's crazy. As crazy as I think we are here, I feel like outside, there's so many rules. Like here, you can put fisting online, but you can't sell it for on DVD.
And you can't put a thumb, right? It can only be fingers.
Yeah, it's only 4. So, like, if they're shooting versions for online and DVD.
Also, I want to know, how did they come up with that law?
Who the fuck made the law? I don't know.
Who was like, we need this on the ballot. It's a very important law.
Full fist, nays, or yays. Thumbs, 50.
It's like, what lawmaker wasted our tax dollars to make that law? I just want to know.
I don't get it. I really don't.
And then the poor like intern that had to read through the law. Like, okay, 3 fingers. Okay, 4 fingers. Okay, no thumb.
I don't know. The thumb just really makes me uncomfortable. But the 4 fingers.
The 4 fingers is fine. What if you have really big fingers though?
Yes. If you have like sausage fingers, it's just like one should be fine.
So it's illegal. Like you can't sell a video if it has the whole fist. Is the law.
Yeah.
The law that one of our lawmakers went to vote.
Okay. I think our goal the next time we come back should have a name on who came up
with that law. And we need to maybe get him or her for the podcast and be like, why were you thinking about this? What happened?
What made you decide that?
To pass it's a law. It's an actual law.
But it's also like there's also like those are rules and regulations with like the credit card companies. So a lot of them don't approve certain things too. And that's how, or with memberships, thank God, like people are still paying for a membership.
So what do you mean? So what kind of things aren't approved?
Well, like fisting is one. Like I could say stepdad, stepdaughter, stepmom all day. But if it slips and I'm like, I'm your actual dad. And it's like, oh! What are you saying? Stop, cut.
So you can't do incest with your actual father. You can only do incest with a step parent.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
That's a rule. I cannot say, I am your birth dad. I gave birth to you. Like, I was there. That's your birth mom. So I have to be a
I'm sorry,
stepdad.
I don't know why that makes me laugh so hard.
It's because it's stupid.
Is that a rule or a law?
It's the law.
Okay,
That's
so
why there's
someone else actually. Okay, we need to find out who these lawmakers are and start trolling them on Twitter so hard.
they're like retired and hiding in like the woods, and it's like I can't believe I came up with that.
Okay, so you can't be a birth father and molest your daughter.
No, but that's wrong.
But you can be a stepfather.
That's
can you be a cousin? Can you be a cousin?
Cousins, yeah, even brothers and sisters. It's still like if it's brother, sister, mother, father, that's a no. But if it's like stepbrother,
what do you mean brother, mother, sister? You just named a shitload of relatives.
No, like brothers and sisters can't have sex.
Okay, but stepbrother.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if your mom married my dad.
Whoa. So what about all those videos that are like, mom teaches daughter how to give a blowjob or whatever?
Well, that is a lot of... Oh, okay. So those are... The mom and daughter usually aren't touching. Like, it's... So certain company... Like, it throws me off because I was like, isn't this the rule? So honestly, like, sometimes the mother-daughter can't touch, like, but they could fuck a guy, but she can't like make out with her daughter.
Okay.
Unless if it's her stepdaughter.
I don't watch that stuff, so I don't know, but I've seen it on Pornhub. You see it on Pornhub, right? It's like this daughter forces her daughter.
Mom, what are you doing to my boyfriend?
Yes,
it's just I'll hold your hair, honey. But it's not like we're not going to make out at the end. Unless it's just like a stepdaughter. And then
these poor
that's okay.
Stepkids are just taking it up the
How
ass.
fucking confusing is that?
Step relationships are fucked, but actual blood relatives cannot.
Yeah. It's a wacky
But cousins
world.
can.
Cousins.
You're not sure, but you think.
I think so. Or if it's like first cousin, second cousin. I haven't done too many cousin porns.
Because I guess that's not as taboo, right?
Yeah. Well, it is kind of frowned upon. I fucked my cousin. That was my first. Ew. What?
I never noticed that it was stepbrothers and stepdads only.
A lot of these rules, like, because I, like, for years when I was directing for Naughty America, like, I was like, okay, I have to know what to say, what to tell the actors. And throughout time, things change. So there is, like, a whole... what's okay now, what's not okay now. And
well, for years, like sodomy was illegal, right?
Yeah.
because of like being gay is wrong, whatever, blah blah blah, and anal was illegal, right? Like actually illegal as an act. I think in some states it's still illegal.
Yeah, isn't it?
I think in like 1 or 2 states it's like illegal. There's all these weird rules. Like I know there's certain rules also about child marriage that are still.
That confuses the shit out of me.
So like in most states you have to be 18 or older to legally get married, but in some states you can get married with your parents' permission. And I believe I read online, because I was like reading this sex trafficking article, that in some states, of course they're in the South or Midwest, there's like no
back to you guys.
Sorry guys. There's like no age, or the minimum age is like 13 or something really young. And the reason I was reading about it is because there was a female lawmaker who wanted to make it just 18 across the board, because she's like, oh, people can get sex trafficked, people can get whatever.
As they should. I remember a few people were shooting in like Berlin, and one of the male performers, it was very older man, and this girl was like, oh, I want to work with you, but she was under 18.
Mm-hmm. But over
Berlin, there it was
can...
fine. But everybody else was like, this is fucked up. But he's like, but we're not in America. And you're like, but you're fucking working for us, and you're making us uncomfortable, and get her the fuck out of here.
You're like, you could be her great grandfather.
Pretty much.
He's like, why not?
But it's fine. But it's not fine. It is all over the place, and it does weird me out in times, and like, because I know, like, I go to bed at night, I could sleep well because I know what I'm doing is like with consent, and everybody's like of age,
and that's really
and everything.
Important to you.
That's extremely important. If like my whole life would be different if I was like whatever, 18, 17, I don't care. Like, that's fucked up. And it's the way that things are, people are, like I was saying, people are starting to kind of talk more, and I think things are starting to come out. We're trying to figure out what's okay and what's not, because so many rules for so long have been one-sided, and a lot of times men have made those rules and they don't want to change it, and they're going to fight to the death to not change it.
Well, I think by keeping it very ethical, like you said, I think that's important, because there's still a lot of negative stigma, like you said, even though we're in such a progressive time. There's still like, I remember when Stormy Daniels came out against the president, people are like, well, who's going to believe her? She's a porn star. And I'm like, okay, what profession? It's a profession. What profession is believable? If a waitress came forward, would you say, well, who's going to believe her? She's a waitress. Not to say it's, what I'm saying? I'm not putting down waitresses. In fact, I'm holding them up. I'm saying your profession should not preclude whether you're honest or dishonest.
Exactly. Like, and I mean, I don't know.
Because there's honest porn stars and there's dishonest ones, just like there's honest waitresses, and there's dishonest, just like there's honest politicians and there's just honest politicians. So I don't think that should be regarded as a character assassination.
I think so many people, like when Stormy's situation, like it was so easy to like kind of try to break her down and be like, well, you suck dick for a living, and what do you know? And like that was their go-to to like try to insult her. But it's like she's
still a person,
professional,
and it still happened.
Dick sucker who's done very well, and she's a human, and she's
maybe that's why she was pursued as a potential love interest.
Yeah, and how many other people, what's the number at now? Like 12, 20 that have came out towards him?
But what I'm saying is that someone's profession and the profession in the porn industry should not be seen as a character question, because that, if we want to go down that route, how many priests, which is a very high character person of character, allegedly, have crossed that line and done things that are inappropriate. So just because you have a certain position or a certain career doesn't necessarily say that your character is credible or uncredible.
Yeah,
because look at the priest.
Yeah, look, like your word doesn't matter because that's what you do. Bullshit. Like
Yes.
I literally on Facebook, I see it every time I sign on. It's a donation fund for kids who have been molested by priests. And that blows my mind that the fact that's even up there and that people are like, these kids have been hurt and like you should donate money to help them. And it's just like, but this is still going on. Like, no, I don't think
a lot of priests have not been removed. Yeah, a lot of priests have not been removed.
They just, put
they
them in another church?
Yeah, they move them into another church, or they'll get like a demotion type thing. And no, it is. It'll be demoted where they're still a priest, but they can't be head of a church, and they'll just be. They're kind of like,
it's behind the scenes.
Yeah, they're put in paperwork basically. Yeah. It's like, oh, you can't be in charge of a church, but you can sit in the back and do paperwork. Yeah. It's like it's reprehensible and it's awful, you know, especially in a position where you're being held to such a high standard of having people's trust and people's secrets.
Yeah.
And things like that, you know, especially with confessions. So I don't think that someone's profession should be a judge of character.
No.
Unless your profession is like you're a murderer or something. You're like a hitman for the mob. But I guess there's hitmen with morals, you know, like the professional.
No women, no kids. Yeah. It's weird. And what really, especially with Stormy's situation, like not just because I know her, but like the truth was like his wife, Melina, was like in giving birth, married, almost when all that happened, but people are just like, you're a whore. Like, and it's like, you know, this motherfucker like reached out to her and everything. And it's like, they're totally like, the truth is here, but they're like, no, I'm not going to believe you. Yeah. Like it boggles my mind how so much like things like that happen. And they're just
But a lot of people came forward and stood by her. And I think that my point is that I think the sex industry is becoming more normalized. It's not quite where I would like it to be or what, you know, I think that sex should be very openly spoken about because of my repressed background and I feel like I had a huge learning curve, and I feel like I speak to a lot of women and a lot of men who have a similar situation where they're like, I was so clueless. And so I think that more education and more talking needs to be done.
I know when I started high school, only the first year, there was a sex ed class, and then that went away. And then I heard like across the board, it's like, we're not going to teach that anymore.
We had a sex ed class, but it was taught by a 78-year-old woman.
Who has experience.
I think she was a lesbian. She was the sweetest lady, but they were so mean to her, and it was so clinical. Oh. It was like pictures of vaginas, and she had like one of those long pointy sticks, and she would like point to it. And it was more like teaching us about STDs and like scaring us not to have sex.
This will fall off.
I think she showed us like pictures of like herpes infected genitals and was like, this is what happens if you have sex. And like, it was really scary. Like she was a very sweet lady. I felt bad for her, but it was a very disgusting.
She was probably forced to like, this is what you have to teach.
Very disgusting class. It was really gross.
Let's close in on that saw.
She was literally a 78-year-old woman. I'm not even kidding. She had all gray hair. She had this what is it? Parkinson's?
Oh God.
She had Parkinson's, and she would like point to this giant vagina like on the overhead projector.
And then she's like smacking it because her hands.
Oh, you can't even write this stuff. It was so crazy. We have to wrap up. Tommy, how can people support you? How can they find out about you? What is the best way? Because like there's so much free porn, and that's not good. They gotta support you. Good. They gotta support you.
Any company that has a website where you gotta buy a membership. That's what keeps us in business. Buying clips, buying memberships, buying DVDs.
Boots.
Yeah. If you're listening, I want those boots. What do you want me to do?
What size are you?
7.5.
7.5 cowboy boots. Where are you?
Meet me on Griffith Park, 2 p.m. with boots.
You have an OnlyFans?
I do have an OnlyFans. It's onlyfans.com/Tommy Pistol. On there, you can see me do a lot more personal, solo.
But not as your father.
But not playing a dad. There is some puppetry play.
Okay.
And you could, best way to contact me is usually on Twitter, at Tommy Pistol.
Yes,
So.
and I am at Funny Rosie on Twitter and Facebook, Instagram, Out of the Box Rosie. Guys, I have an amazing other podcast called Out of the Box Podcast where I interview really interesting people from all walks of life with really cool new ideas to share. This has been Dirty Change.
Dirty Change.
With Rosie and Tommy.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.